often feel helpless when I see unhoused people on the streets of Los Angeles. Most people do so too. Regardless of how well the interaction goes, a homeless person asking for money outside the cafe we hang out with our friends leaves us feeling disappointed in ourselves, as we cannot adequately help them. As we walk around the streets of LA, we see many people in need of food, shelter, and compassion. The human instinct is to walk up to them and ask them what they need. What if I told you that there are already existing projects you can contribute to and make a difference in your communities in a meaningful way? Mutual aid networks and projects are one of the most effective ways to give back to our communities. The COVID-19 Mutual Aid Network of Los Angeles has redistributed over $523,000, helping in a wide range of ways, including direct cash to families in need, in the form of grocery deliveries, paying bills, buying health supplies, and providing the unhoused with durable equipment such as tents. Mutual aid comes in many different forms that aren't limited to monetary help. And you can help your community by participating in neighborhood watches, anti-street sweep campaigns, and organizing local food drives. I argue that joining mutual aid groups is one of the best ways to combat economic injustices in Los Angeles. Doing mutual aid not only is an effective way of giving back to the communities we live in, but it is also a good way to connect with the people we are so often separated from. In my speech, I will share all the reasons why you should join mutual aid groups in your neighborhoods. First, I will explain how helping those in need around us directly make us feel like a more essential part of society and make us be a part of a meaningful social change within our communities. Second, I will share with you the effectiveness of mutual aid projects in terms of social progress. So, what exactly is mutual aid? Mutual aid is a term that is popularized by the Russian theorist Peter Kropotkin, who argued in his writings that cooperation was the law of civilization. Mutual aid is simply any act of reciprocal aid and cooperation among people and social groups. As opposed to charities, mutual aid projects are transparent and egalitarian, as they generally do not involve a hierarchical top-down structure that most charities and philanthropic projects possess. By having a non-hierarchical approach to aiding communities, mutual aid projects have a much higher rate of success than philanthropic projects that often end up serving only the already rich. By being transparent with their activities, mutual aid groups show exactly how they are helping the communities they claim to help. Mutual aid projects do not require participants to have a lot of money, as people can help those in need in many different ways, many of which do not involve monetary assistance. Organizations like Street Watch LA organize events to observe police activity to make sure LAPD is not displacing the unhoused from certain areas or damaging the property of the unhoused people. Mutual aid groups are easy to find, join, and even create. A quick Google search will show you the local organizations and groups near you that you can join. If you cannot find one that you feel comfortable joining, you can gather your friends who might be interested in doing some mutual aid work with you and directly help those around you by organizing food drives, speaking with restaurants and other establishments to collect their leftover foods to distribute to the unhoused, or simply by going door to door with your friends and talking to your neighbors. You can talk to them about their needs and see if there is anything you can offer them. Mutual aid is also a great way to make sure your efforts are making meaningful differences in the world. When we donate to charities or GoFundMe funds, we often can verify so much about where the funds are going. Mutual aid projects like Food Not Bombs collect items and directly hand them to people. And participating in a project like this can directly involve you in the process of helping people who need your help. Now that I've laid out a few reasons for participating in mutual aid activities, I will talk more about the effectiveness of mutual aid and the philosophy behind it. The non-hierarchical, egalitarian model of mutual aid projects allow for every voice to be heard. Even if someone has no organizing experience, they can learn how to better aid their community on the job. Talking to the people you are giving out food to, asking about their daily routines and struggles, can give you valuable insight into how to structure future projects. Sharing your ideas for strategies with other members of the organization will allow for productive discussions and brainstorming to happen. In this global capitalistic world we live in, trusting big corporations and local governments to make positive social change in our communities is near impossible. Not only because the main goal of capitalist production is to make as much profit as possible, but also because competition, as opposed to cooperation, is the way our lives are taught to be aligned. Simply put, if billionaires and their corporations actually wanted to help people, they would not exploit the working class in the first place. This idea that the rich will save us does not make sense in theory, and it certainly does not work in practice. As we've seen with many philanthropic organizations, such as the failed educational reform campaign of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. With mutual aid, you can be a part of directly democratic organizations that are only a small piece of a much greater web of human cooperation, solidarity, and fraternity. Mutual aid groups are everywhere. There are hundreds of organizations and groups you can join no matter where you live. In the following visual, you will see a map of mutual aid networks all around the country, compiled by mutualaidhub.gov. And the purple icons represent food resources, and the blue icons represent aid networks that offer a range of resources. As presented in the image, mutual aid networks are very common all around the United States, and they are very easy to find and join. As I've explained, there are many reasons why you should join mutual aid networks and participate in community support activities and projects. To conclude, there are two main reasons why you should join mutual aid groups. First, mutual aid is a widespread and accessible way of helping those in need. And second, mutual aid is an effective way of organizing to achieve social change and equity. Being a part of a group that directly works for those in need will make you feel less helpless, as you will see the change you help create. Unjust systems are all around us, especially in Los Angeles, the city with the country's second largest homeless population, according to the 2020 report by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. In a world that constantly makes us feel useless and guilty, participating in mutual aid activities is a good remedy. Thank you for listening.